The idea of an Uncharted 4 itself seems like a bit of a stretch. The third game literally ends with the protagonist walking off into the sunset. Not only to make a fourth, but indeed a fifth in all but name may come across like Naughty Dog running in place. However, Uncharted 4 is the best game in the series, and now its sequel cum spin-off, The Lost Legacy, has been given a lot to follow. The game follows Chloe Fraser and Nadine Ross, supporting characters from Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 4 respectively, on a treasure hunt to find the Tusk of Ganesh, a sacred item in Hindu legend. The game begins with the pair butting heads as part of a newly formed partnership, Nadine's straightforward, no-nonsense approach sparking against Chloe's almost Nathan Drake-like quip-a-minute swagger.
And look. How weird. I'm sorry I doubted you, Chloe.
Is Hoysala?
Hoysala. It's not a modern structure, so we're definitely on the right track. What?
I don't like it.
You don't like anything.
No. We've gone nearly 100 kilometers with no sign of a sov.
Glass half full, maybe we got the jump on them.
Unlikely.
It's here where the excellent characterization comes to the fore. The relationship is extremely well developed. Naughty Dog is now, without question, the industry leader in development of characters through motion capture and voice acting performances. Both Laura Bailey and Claudia Black give Nadine and Chloe a tangibility and chemistry that elevates the game's dialogue and character development beyond that of its peers. The relationship changes and grows as the game goes on, filling in crucial elements of the character's backstory and shedding new light on their motivation and desires. Unfortunately, this character development does not go into the villain, which at this point is almost an Uncharted trope. More so, it's disappointing here because the opening exchange with the new villain is chilling and nuanced in a way that the other villains in the series, save for Nadine in 4, are not.
Nadine Ross. What a pleasant surprise. Careful, brothers. This tiger's got claws.
A sov.
Oh, all these years. And you haven't aged a day.
You're too kind.
Sadly, very little is done in regards to advancing the antagonist's story, and the totality of his arc leaves little impression. The game in parts feels like a throwback to the first Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. The game, for the most part, takes place in one location. Similarly, the game's central interactions surround the defrosting of a chilly relationship through working together and isolation. However, unlike the one-dimensional love story of Nathan and Elena from the first game, Chloe and Nadine's relationship is multi-layered and goes through many permutations throughout the story. Like the first game, The Lost Legacy is substantially shorter than the later titles in the series. This is for the game's benefit, however, as the pacing never wavers, the narrative is never relegated to the background, and crucially, my engagement never turned to boredom. I love Uncharted 2, 3 and 4, 1 to a lesser extent, but it was a good foundation in its day, but it's inarguable that the longer the series went on, the games ballooned in size, to the point where A Thief's End clocked in around the 16-hour mark. 10 hours longer than it took for me to complete Lost Legacy, taking my time throughout the experience. Speaking of Nathan Drake, he only appears in name and the game is better for it. I've nothing against Drake, in fact I think he's one of gaming's great frontmen of recent years, but his story was finished in Uncharted 3, and even the shading that 4 provided at times felt like stretching. Chloe and Nadine spend a lot of the game swapping their stories about their encounters with Indiana Death, but it takes a backseat in the narrative. The gameplay is mostly typical Uncharted. You'll spend time shooting and hiding behind cover, but less so than in previous titles. Like 4's transition to a more stealth focus, Lost Legacy features several sections that can be traversed silently. This is preferable personally, as I've never been a huge fan of the imprecise and clumsy third-person shooting. Lost Legacy has less combat sections, leaving more room for the game's more exploratory moments. Included in this is a substantial, almost open-world chapter that features an expansive area, objectives that can be tackled in any order, and optional side content. It's an impressive pivot from an extremely linear series, and may signal Naughty Dog's intentions for the future. Visually, the game is virtually unmatched. The facial capture technology at Naughty Dog is unbelievable. These are the single most realistic character models in gaming, bar none. Emotions and internal conflict are finally able to be depicted wordlessly. This also comes back to the excellent performances. The environments are at times photorealistic, and although the majority of the game takes place in the same area, the architectural variety and attention to detail means that the experience is never visually dull. The sheer number of animations in the game is ludicrous. The things that Naughty Dog have accounted for when designing how the characters move throughout the world is staggering. The Lost Legacy is an accomplished addition to the series and second only to 4 in its quality. The character development is at a franchise peak, and new strides in regards to level design and pacing make it feel refreshing and align the games that seem to have dealt every card it had. I'm officially swearing off saying that the Naughty Dog series is quote done. That would be a huge disservice to the talent and creativity exemplified here. At £25 or free if you had the season pass before a certain date is an essential experience on PS4 that builds anticipation even higher for the upcoming sequel to Naughty Dog's masterpiece, The Last of Us Part 2. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe and leave your thoughts on Uncharted The Lost Legacy in the comments below. See you next time.